Knowing when to hold and knowing when to fold. You guys have to understand that your number list should be held for at least 3 drawings. Alright. Right here in this picture, they're showing you that you can wheel your combinations from 2 winning draws right here. You come out with 5 numbers. So I've discussed with a couple of you guys how when you take 5 numbers, you can come up with 10. When you take 6 numbers, you come up with 20. So if you take the last 2 winning draws, you're going to have no more than 6 different digits. So that would be no more than 20 combinations. So as you can see, this is all they did was to use 2 winning draws, and they held them. They held them. So you can see the pairs came out from those on these yellow spaces, and the whole numbers that they wheeled came out. And this is why, you guys, I will say that you have to pick 5 or 6 best digits, because when you have a single number, one of those digits will return in the very next draw a little less than 2 out of 3 times. So it's not always going to return a digit. And when you're dealing with a double, you're only going to return a digit 1 out of 2 times is what your expected average should be. So this is why holding numbers is important. Your numbers list should be held. You've got to know when to hold it and know when to let it go. And that's just something that is the age-old gambler's dilemma. I like that 3 drawings. You can move it up to, 3 to 6 drawings if you want it to. And if you're in a 3 draw a day state, that's probably where I would go. So, boxed versus straight. Boxed is better. Odds wise, boxed is better. It's in my free book 1. I have free book 1. It explains why boxed is better and why the odds of playing boxed are better. Yes, you're going to get more money if you hit that straight number. But I want to challenge you to question yourself and ask yourself, how many times have I hit a straight number? And if that answer is like 0 or 1 in, all the last 6 months that you've played, and you're playing almost every day, or 3 months even, it's not gonna happen as often as you're gonna hit a boxed number. So you're gonna have better odds playing boxed. If you think you have a straight number, or if you want to combo your box combinations, if you got that much money, then that'd be great. Or, but if you think you have a straight number, like you think it's going to hit, you pretty sure it's going to hit, you still always want to back that up as a boxed play as well. You want to mark it on your ticket as a box play as well. So if you think 279 is going to hit straight, I would still play 279 boxed, just for a little insurance, All right. Now, this is one of the main things that I want you guys to understand. Following too many methods, systems, workouts, grids, tic-tac-toes, and other people's logic. This is not the way to go. When we start following too many methods, systems, workouts, grids, tic-tac-toes, then we're getting into a whole bunch of mess. Okay? You're going to get yourself saturated with numbers. You're going to confuse yourself unless you understand how to use all those methods. Because I've sat here, and this is my goal, is to test methods, systems, workouts, grids, and tic-tac-toes that are already out there. I understand how to use them backwards and forwards because I have back tested them. I have played on paper. I have tried to guess the winner I've went back to previous drawings and did workout systems, methods, grids, tic-tac-toes, and then I will try to guess the next number. Because I've done that, I can look at these different methods, systems, workouts, grids, tic-tac-toes, and other people's logic, and I can incorporate it really quickly because it's just second nature to me. And this is why number 4 is so important. Back test, back test, back test, back test. And what do I mean by back test? I want you guys to go to a state. Now, Tennessee, I don't really like doing because their site, you can't see their numbers like others, but it's better than some sites. It's better than some sites, like Michigan's site is really sucky. You can only see that day, and you can't go back like you can here in North Carolina. And, you can go back to the past draws, and they give you your vertical. Now, when I talk about your vertical, this is the format that I'm talking about. You want your numbers under each other like this so you can see what's happening, because this will create a sort of a grid in and of itself a lot of times. And you will see what's coming. It will make things a lot more clear when you have your numbers written out like this. If you have to write them out like this for your state, do so. We're trying to get this new software to where this stuff is going to write them out like this. If you don't have that capability right now, we need to just write them down on a sheet of paper or something, or take a screenshot of your state. But if you don't have the ability to do this, Mississippi does. I've built a lot of things since this first class video came out years ago, but a lot of the things in it are still relevant. But I wanted to show you guys, if you go to the private website, go to your state's info here. We're going to go to Florida. And we'll look at the Pick 2 sheet. We'll also look at the Pick 3 sheet. The Pick 4 sheet is down here. And the Pick 5 sheet. I want to show you guys that we do have the stacking on most everything. We do have, whether it's all even, all odd, evens, odds, high, lows, whether this is a by ones, a flip, by fours, or a mirror pair. You can see right here that this is a repeat factor. If the repeat factor is high, this is a 2. And that 0 and 5, out of that 0 and 5, we had a digit repeat in the very next drawing. Repeat factor here is a 1. That's a low repeat factor. It took it a couple of drawings for the 4 to come back, but the 0 did come back immediately in the next drawing. This repeat factor is very useful as well. And it has, whether you're due doubles, you're overdue for doubles, you're due mirrors, you're overdue for mirrors, you're due series, you're overdue for series, by 2s, flips, and by 4s. On the Cash 3, this is the relevant part. We do have the pairs right here. We do have return pairs right here. It shows you how many times these pairs return, and they return all the time. You guys, look at that. But the vertical stacking is over here to the right. These are your numbers, and this is the vertical stacking. And I tried to color code the mirrors, but each digit is color coded, so you can see 8s bunching up right there. You can see your 2s. The same is true for the Pick 4 stacking, vertical stacking right here, and it is color coded. And we also have whether you're due certain things or not. But you can see what you're due in each state. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Now there is each state info on the pick 3 hot, pick 4 hot, and the pick 5 hot. You will see that each state is represented here, and it gives you which are the top 3 digits on ball 1, which are the top 3 digits on ball 2, which are the top 3 digits on ball 3, which are the top 3 digits overall. And then we got the best 10 numbers from box digit analysis. So that's our 5 or 6 digits. We're taking 5 digits and we're wheeling it into 10 numbers. These are the best 5 digits right here, wheeled into 10 numbers. We have also the top 10 consistent box pairs. You can open this up by doing this on your phone. Just click on it and you can see more. And this is extensive consistent info. This will show you what's missing out of your consistent info. In Arizona, our top box missing is 29 and 68. See 29 and 68 right there in your top 10. And those are the ones that are furthest out. Okay? Matches get you wins. I would do box matching. 0-4 is the best boxed. And it's the best here as well on the front pair. So front pair 0-4, that would be how you would want to play it. When you're looking at your box, 29 and 68, you got 68 as an 86 right here on the front pair. That's the best way to play it, but I would still back it up with a boxed, just like I'm teaching in this class. We want to play on paper. We want to guess the next number. So here's what I do. I go over here and I go all the way down on Georgia, and you see I'm already on page 4. I go to the very last page that I can go to. You guys can, if you're in Mississippi, go to Mississippi. You can also do this in other states. You can also do this in other states, but I would suggest doing it in your own state. That way, once you test the method, once you test it in your state, and you start testing that method, and so you go back. Let's go all the way back to the beginning, and use 869. And do your rundown with 869 and just kind of like hide the next number so you can't see what it is, you know. And then each time just kind of go down, okay, I guessed wrong, or I got close, so let's go back and try it again. So we do it again with 731. Let's try to guess the next number, you know, and you move on like that with whatever method you're testing. Okay, now class 2, I am going to show you how to foil the 4 to 6 digits, to wheel those combinations or to foil them, whatever, however you want to say that. I have tested some methods, and so for me, I put it together, and this is old. I have to revise it because I've tested more methods now. So, you know, the best methods that I had at the time, you know, return digits, pairs, triads. You want to watch for repeated digits, pairs, and or triads, depending on if you're dealing with the pick 3 or the pick 4. So if you're dealing with the pick 4, you want pairs and triads. If you're dealing with the pick 3, it's only pairs. Okay. Use your state's vertical numbers for the pick 3 and pick 4 side by side. Write it down or take a screenshot from your phone. Mark it, underline the pair, mark or underline the pairs. Keep track of your pairs. Keeping track of your pairs is going to be one of the most important things you do. I want you guys to keep track of your pairs with this distance tracking chart. And I also want you guys to keep track of your pairs in your vertical. So look at your vertical. Look at what's going on. And if you got a pick 4, I want you guys to be looking at your pick 3 and pick 4 side by side for that day. For the verticals, look at them, because they will cross over. They will cross over. And if you really wanted to, your 6 digits could possibly be your pick 3 and your pick 4 for that draw. And then you wheel them out for your next draw. But when I wheel those digits out like that, when I do that, they don't always hit in the very next drawing. Sometimes they take 3 to 5 drawings. That's why I say 6 drawings is really 6 drawings is a sweet spot for every state, really. I really want to tell you guys to hold your numbers for 6 drawings. And I know that's a lot for you guys. You guys are, you're itching to do another workout. And you can most certainly do that workout and compare it to the numbers that you are holding. And if you had come up with anything similar, I would definitely star that. But I found a lot of times you're gonna throw out numbers and they're gonna play, and then you're gonna be mad because you're gonna be like, well, I had that on my list for yesterday, I didn't play it today. I've heard people say that so many times, it's not even funny. So, I'm moving right along. Okay, distance, scales, order, and associations. Order, skip order, etc. By 1s, by 2s, by 3s. So, we're going to talk about distance. We're going to talk about scales. We're going to look at, this is our scale right here. This is our regular scale. I add the 0 at the end. I like to use my zeros as placeholders, because that's what they are. 0 is nothing. It actually doesn't even really exist. And because of that, zeros act in a peculiar manner. Okay? At any rate, I like to add those as a placeholder because it just keeps going. It just keeps going. And the same thing down here, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, when you go back to 30. So we got our scale of 1s here. This is by 1s. It's a regular scale. And this one's by 3s. This one by 3 scale. So, on any scale, if we go -1, that number, +1, so we got the number, say that number is 9. So we're going to -1, +1 on any scale. If we're moving one space, before that number and one space after that number on any scale, that's going to be a consecutive sequenced number. So just like when we're on our 1s scale, we have 3 numbers beside each other, and that's going to be a series number, a sequence number, a consecutive number. So same thing on the by 3 scale. You'll see that you have your flip series numbers. Okay, so when you go by 2s on a 1s scale, you're either going to be on your odds or evens. So if you start with a 0 and it's a skip sequence, so you're skipping. So that's why we have 0, 0, 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 4, 6, 8. That's why we have these as series numbers, is because it's a skip. We're going by 2s on that 1s scale. So if you went by 2s, you're going to do a skip sequence. If you start off with an even number, it's going to be even numbers. So you're going to have an all even series number or an all odd series number. Okay, we're not going to go all the way out. We've already got back to the 2. So we have a 0, 2, 4, a 2, 4, 6, a 4, 6, 8, a 6, 8, 0, 8, 0, 2. If you were to go by 1s, you have a 1, 3, 5. If you were to start with an odd digit. So if we start with an even digit, we're still going by 2s. Sorry, you guys. If you start with an even digit, you're going to have your even series. If you start with an odd digit, you're going to have your odd series. So, this is just a skip sequence on the scale. You're going by twos. Well, 135, 357, 579, 791, 913. So if you start with an even number, you're going to have your even series if you count by twos. And if you start with an odd number, you're going to have your odd series if you count by twos. Okay? Same thing here. We are going to go into a little bit more than I went into in the live. Of course we are. So if we start, this is the same thing. So we're going by ones and by twos. Well, if we're on a 1 scale and we multiply by 2, it's still going to be 2. 1 multiplied by 2 is 2. But what's 3 multiplied by 2? That's 6. So we're going by 3s and by 6s over here on our 3 scale. Okay? So, when you do, it's the same thing as when you go by 2s on this by 1 scale. When you go by 2s on this 3 scale, it's going to be by 6s because 2 times 3 is 6. So you're going to skip. See how that's a by 2s on the by 3 scale. So it'd be by 3s times 2, which is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. So it does the same thing. When you start off with an even number, it gives you all even numbers. And when you start off with an odd, it gives you all odd. So here we have what I call a carryover series: 062, 628, 284, 840, 406, and then you go back to 062, 395, 951, 517, 173, 739. So those are, they are very similar to these. If you're starting out, they're either all even or all odd numbers. So those by 6 series are all even or all odd numbers. That's what they are. Now, another interesting thing I wanted you guys to note. Let's look at this series numbers. We know that 0, 1, 2 equals 5, 6, and 7. When we mirror the 0, it becomes a 5. When we mirror the 1, it becomes a 6. When we mirror the 2, it becomes a 7. You guys should have grown accustomed to this with my date digits that we post every single day. And in those date digits, we take those 6 date digits and we wheel them out to 20 pick 3 numbers. But you guys have to understand that there's a correlation between these series because they're mirrors of each other. So 4, 5, 6 is 901. 3, 4, 5 is 890. So they do have an association to each other. And once you understand and can look at these numbers, look at the scale that they're on, look at the digits, the distance apart. That's what I want to show you guys is that I want you guys to look at the distance apart of your numbers. So we know the 0 and 3 have a distance apart of 3. Because if you add, what would you add to 0 to get to 3? 3. So that's a distance. What would you add to 3 to get to 6? 3. So it's a distance of 3. 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 7, 8, 9. So 6 and 9 would have a distance of 3. All these numbers are going to have a distance of 3 apart. All these numbers are going to have a distance of 6 apart. And I also corresponded them as well, just like I did with those other series numbers. So 036 has a direct correlation with 581. Why? Because 0 is 5, 3 is 8, 6 is 1. Same thing with 1, 4, 7, 2, 5, 8, 3, 6, 9. 470. You can see that they're just mirrors of each other. Okay? So y'all see that 470 is a 925. Okay? Same thing with the carryover series. An even carryover series is the mirror to an odd carryover series. That 0 mirrors to a 5. That 6 mirrors to a 1. That 2 mirrors to a 7. This 1 mirrors to a 6. This 7 mirrors to a 2. This 3 mirrors to an 8. And so on and so forth. Same thing with your even and odd series numbers. 680 is 135. 6 mirrors to 1. 8 mirrors to 3. 0 mirrors to 5. 802 is 357. So you guys see these correlations? These correlations are going to serve you well in the future. I won't go into a lot of detail right now about that, but those correlations will... Associations. Those associations. So I want you guys to understand associations. I want you guys to understand the distance between numbers. I want you guys to understand that by ones and that by threes scale. Because that's really all we're going off of, is a by one and a by three scale. You could go by one, by twos, by threes, and by sixes or whatever, but it's always going to be when we're on that by ones and by threes scale. Order. Things go in order naturally. Things go in order naturally. This is a mathematical law. Mathematical law. 2 digits fall in a series naturally. This is a mathematical law. This is a math law. It cannot be broken. You cannot break the law of gravity. If you jump off a building, you are going to fall to the ground, smack, because it doesn't matter who you are. You're still going to fall to the ground. It don't matter, if you did it upside down or sideways. You cannot defy the laws of gravity. So these laws are the same type of laws. You cannot defy these laws. 2 digits fall in a series naturally. That's why people are running around with a list of 70 numbers that are all 2-digit series numbers. That's why they're running around with this list saying it hits high. Of course it hits high. It's a mathematical law that it would hit high. They figured, lottery players figured this out just by observation. Just by observation. I figured this out within the first couple of months of studying random numbers, because I learned that 2 digits fall in a series naturally. Could have saved them years and years of work if they had just researched the mathematical laws governing random numbers. There are mathematical laws that govern random numbers, and those mathematical laws cannot be broken. 2 digits fall in a series naturally. Also, things happen at the beginning, middle, and end of any range more often. Range equaling a month, a digit, a scale, whatever. Our range of digits that we have for the lottery are 0 through 9. Things happen at the beginning, middle, and end often. But if you know the correlations that these have between themselves and between each other, like that 062 and that 063 right there, are only one off. The 173 and the 174. The 284 and the 285. This is 395 and that's 396 box. That's 406 and that's 407 box. This is 518 and 517 and 518. 628, 629. Same thing. It's only one off. When you can make these associations and understand how these are associated, you're going to be able to view these digits and these numbers a lot differently, and you're going to see why certain numbers come out, because they're associated with each other. You go to Lottery Post, and you're going to go to Lottery Systems. So over here on Lottery Systems, you're going to go to Lottery Systems, and then you're going to go to Combination Analysis for Pick 3 and Pick 4. So we'll do that. We'll go to Lottery Systems over here, and then we're going to find the Combinations Analysis for the Pick 3 and the Pick 4. right here. There's also a pairs analysis for the pick 3 and pick 4. I'm going to go to the pick 3 and go to Mississippi. If you were to go like Georgia, let's do Arkansas. See how you click the whole Arkansas and it clicks them all. You could click all states. You could go up here and it says check all. You could check all states. If you guys are all states players and you want to know which numbers are due out, you can do this with all states. Okay, so we're going to go to Mississippi. We picked that we wanted to do this for pick 3. We picked that we wanted to do it for Mississippi. Now we want box combinations. Let's do it with the singles first. Okay, box combination. It's already preset to the past year. You can change the date range if you want to. I like going for the past year and looking. This is one of my main things to do, is to look and see how many numbers have not hit in the last year. Okay, and up here they're going to tell you which numbers have not been drawn during the date range specified. It also shows the last time that it hit and how many draws it's been since it's hit. You can do this, like I said, in the Cash 4 as well. So we're going to start all over. I'm going to do this one more time for you guys. Go to your pick 3. And we're going to check all states. We're going to check all states. Okay, for you all states players. For you all states players, I want to know what's hitting the board. Box. Oops, sorry y'all. I usually look at doubles, that's why I do that. And that's a good thing to do, look at your doubles. Look at which ones, are due out. Every number's been drawn this year in all states. We could look at, let's go back and look at the past 3 months. How about let's look at the past 3 months. Right here, it goes 30 days, 90 days. Let's look at the past 30 days for all states. See what's happened. All numbers have been drawn. All numbers have been drawn this month, or the past 30 days, 30 calendar days. 025 is the longest out in all states. 036 is the longest out. Wow. And holding on to that 036. 047. 123, 125. See, they mark them in red and blue, the longest out. You could go back. You could do the triples. Let's do the past 90 days. That's the last 3 months. And then, of course, that's the past 6 months. So let's do the past 90 days. Let's look at all the triples that have fallen in the pick 3. So you can go back the last 3 months and see all the triples that have fallen in the pick 3. How many times it's been since they're out? Looks like this 777 is the longest out. 9's grouped up right here. Right here a little bit. Right here. Georgia, I've noticed, likes to throw a 779 around triple time. So, around triple time, and I told you guys after triple time, any 90X would be great to play. A 90X, a 90 pair is great to play. So, what we have right before that triple, we had a 741 and a 248. What are those? That's 248 is a carryover series. 741 is a flip series. Anytime we have a triple, a 90 is a great thing to play. We already had the 90 there. And there's our 9s. Zeros grouping up again. 9s grouping up right there. And then we had our triple. So you guys rack up on those trigger numbers around the triples. I'm not even trying to call triples. I knew 9s were coming. I knew Georgia was supposed to have a triple and then pick 3. I want you guys to understand distance between numbers, the scales that I just showed you, by 1s and by 3s. I want you guys to get accustomed to associating things together, making associations, okay? And I showed you guys that anytime you plus or minus 1 on a scale, that is in order. This produces 3 consecutive digits on any scale. We need to understand what the distance is. We need to understand what a number scale is. We need to understand that things like to go in order: 0, 3, 6, 9, 2, 5, 8, 1, 1, 4, 7, 0. But you'll see it go in order. It'll like pull a pair from this row, and then it'll pull a pair from this row, and then it'll pull a pair from this row. So, and I've seen Georgia go. They'll drop 36 and then 25 and then 14, one right after the other. Or 69, 81, and 70. This is a by 2 chart. So it's 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. I added it on so you can see as we go around. So you can see that 913 and that 802 at the end. So this is the beginning of the range. This is the end of the range. And this is the middle. And you'll see it drop the 802 and the 913 by, you know, quite often by those triples. They like to pull from the beginning and end of the range. We're going to make associations with these. These are our by 2's pairs, our even pairs, and our odd pairs. And these pairs are the ones that are next to each other on the range: 0, 2, 2 and 4, 4 and 6, and 6 and 8. Same here at 1 and 3, 3 and 5, 5 and 7, and 7 and 9. And considering that it likes to go in order a lot, it likes to take the pairs that are next to each other a lot. 1 and 3, 3 and 5, 5 and 7, and 7 and 9. But 9 and the 1 are next to each other as well. The 9 and the 1 are next to each other. So, but, and the 8 and the 0 are next to each other. Okay. Because when we go back here, we realize that that 9 and the 1 and that 8 and that 0 are next to each other. And that's at the end and beginning of the range, the end and beginning of the range. So, we watch certain pairs. You know, we watch certain associations. We're going to, you know, get these associations in our minds so that we look at a number and we know everything about what's going on in that number. And then it tells us what may happen next as well. That with 5 digits, wheeling them out to every possible combination, you get 10 numbers here. The same thing with this. This 5 digits, we just went 0 to 4, 0 to 6, 0 to 8, 0, 4, 6, 0, 4, 8. There we go, 0, 6, 8. Then we move to the 2, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 8, 2, 6, 8. Then we move to the 4, 4, 6, 8. This is our by 3s chart, of course. You can see if you find your last hit in here, then you can more than likely find which way it's going to go. And like I said, it does like to go in order, so it'll go over to the right. So if you had a 4, 5, 7, it would more than likely go to a 8. So it'd be 81 or 58. And then with the 47, it would be 70. If you got a state, you can look back at the vertical real quick. Once you've gotten accustomed to testing yourself, once you've gotten accustomed to these distances apart and these associations, it's going to be super easy for you to come over there and look at that vertical and say, okay, this is what's happening. We have mathematical laws. We got the law of averages and we got the law of large numbers. The law of large numbers states that the more draws that we analyze, the closer that they're going to hit to the expected averages and the more that they're going to kind of even out. You guys take a deck of cards and you shuffle it and then turn it over, and you guys will see that at the beginning, middle, and end of the deck that you're going to see two cards fall in a series naturally. At the beginning, middle, and end of the deck, you will see two cards land like a 2-3, 3-4, Queen King. You'll see that two cards are going to fall in a series naturally, and they're going to fall in a series naturally more so at the beginning, middle, and end. Middle or the 15th of the month, and the end / beginning of the month. So, you know, the 30th, 31st, the 1st, and 2nd. Those are when the triples happen more often. So things happen at the beginning, middle, and end of the range more often. Even in the beginning, middle, and end of a month is when you'll see those series and triples happen more often. That's on Lottery Post. A lot of people, players throughout the years, teach or at the very least understand and use this logic. Common lottery knowledge for years. So these are mathematical laws. We got the law of averages that says that things are going to fall near their expected averages. And you got the law of large numbers that says things are going to eventually even out, the digits and the whole numbers, the more drawings you have. False numbers. A mirrored pair is actually a false double. 49x is 44x or 99x. So you guys are going to have to understand that you're going to have to ask someone when they're talking about false series or a false this or a false that. You're going to have to ask them, well, what's your definition of a false number? Because my definition of a false number is a mirror. We just have to understand what each other's talking about. Obtain 4 to 6 of the best digits. And we're going to obtain those 4 to 6 best digits by comparing the last day's winning draws. We're going to use triangulation methods, which is what we're doing with the 369. Using hot and due numbers, and using rundowns and their indicators. Due out. Any digit that has not hit in the last 10 drawings is due out and is going to be drawn soon. 10 times in the last 30 drawings is expected for each digit. 10 times. Each digit should fall about 10 times in the last 30 drawings. That's expected. By the time that it gets up within the last 30 drawings to 17 or 18 hits, the digit gets saturated when it's been drawn that much. Example, this is the digit, this is how many times it's hit. 2's hit 13 times, 5's hit 15 times, and 9's hit 18 times. If I'm looking at my hot due stuff, I'm going to cut that 9 out of there because it's saturated, it's hit too much. We would use the 2 and the 5 but not the 9 because the 9 has been drawn too much. There's a certain point where it's going to just get drawn too much. And then you're going to have to draw the other numbers because they're all going to have to even out in the end. 9 to 10 times is the expected average in the last 30 drawings for each digit. One of a single number's digits will repeat in the very next drawing 65.7%, a little less than 2 out of 3 times. 2 out of 3 times is 66.66%. This is the actual stat for 65.7% of the time when a single number is the winning draw, one of those digits will be repeated in the very next draw. That's almost 66.66%, so it's a little less than 2 out of 3 times. Hot and due digits, they do really great. Your return digits in pairs, so using your last winning draw. You don't need to add a workout method. Number 1, if you can't understand it first. Number 2, if you haven't played it on paper first. And number 3, if you haven't tested it. Get familiar with it, back test it, get familiar with it. You're gonna have to, get hits off of paper before you start trying to use it in real life, because you're gonna throw your money down the tubes. If you haven't worked with something before, you don't know anything about it. You could be the smartest person in the world, but you don't know anything about it. So you got to be able to use it. And how are you going to be able to use it? You're going to go test yourself daily. Can I get a hit within the next 3 drawings? Once you start back testing, you'll know how long to hold your numbers for, because you know when you're producing your hits. So you have to do it. This stuff is going to become second nature, and it's become so easy for you guys. Then you can take all of this logic and dominate. You need to know that the sums, they don't hit in the higher and the lower ranges all the time. So that's something that you guys need to be aware of and need to be tracking. This has the sums divided into 3 groups of 9. 0 through 9, 10 through 18, and 19 through 27. Also want to be aware that the same sum usually doesn't drop back to back. So a lot of times you can eliminate the sum that was dropped in the previous drawing. Usually if you have had 2 of the same sum drop back to back like that, then that is triggered behavior. So either before or after a big money number. Alright, that's about it for this class. You guys have a great day and good luck.